What? Don't laugh at me. This is all the Ness cosplay I could find in my house.
The Mother series is my favorite franchise of all time. I'm not going to explain why that is in this video, but definitely some other time. Anyways, 2014 marks the 25th anniversary of Mother, and I've decided to dedicate an entire countdown to the boss battles of this series. And with the fan game Mother 4 coming out this winter, I can say how much the fans of the series actually love the Mother franchise. And because I love this series so much, I say screw you, YouTube to MP4, I'm using my own footage, which means I have to play the games myself. Okay, I'll get right on that.
Woo! Earthbound!
So, once again, there will be spoilers on this list, and since there's only 3 games in the series, only 5 boss battles per game. So now, instead of saying the usual, let's get started, I'm going to say, zoing, boing, start the video, we will. Choosing 5 bosses from the original Mother is kinda difficult because it's an NES game. But I've managed to find 5 bosses from Mother 1 that managed to make it on this list, and the first representative from that game is the unbeatable R7038. Yeah, there's not really that much to say on this entry. It's a forced loss battle, but it's still a giant robot. Yeah, so how this boss comes to happening is that Ninten and Anna finish dancing, Teddy tells them that it's time to leave, then as they leave, noise happens, and then the boss comes after you. Like I said, it's a forced loss battle, so it's a bit of a killjoy. But after you're defeated by the boss, you die. Well, that's it. No saving the world, no defeating Gege, no going on to play Earthbound, no Earthbound even existing, no creation of Gygus, nothing! Except none of that happens because Lloyd comes in with a tank and saves everyone. Lloyd, you're my savior! I worship you as my king now! I'll go and kill that son of a bitch Gege myself! So after acquiring the tank and the awesome theme known as Roving Tank Plays, you travel through Yucca Desert and get to the Monkey Grotto. Only before entering said place, you're stopped by the first robot in the game, the R7037. Really, the robot fights in Mother 1 aren't really that great, but unlike the previous entry, this one isn't a forced loss battle. But however, it's pathetically easy because you're in a fucking tank. Just fire the tank and sit there and do nothing, and then just wait for the boss to kill himself. Alright, next. And now, the terrible singings of Randall Leclerc. Enjoy. Mount E Toy is a place in Mother 1. It is difficult as balls, but it's okay because you find Eve and then you go and beat up R7038XX. Okay, same concept as before. Another robot to fight, this time it's the R7038XX. It's the R7038, but with 2 X's added to it. Yeah, so you pretty much just let your newly found partner, Eve, attack for you, then let her die. Get the 7th melody, do other stuff, get the 8th melody, and defeat Gege. Well, at the very least, this boss fight ends up with the robot dying, but it doesn't go by too quickly. Okay, enough with these fucking robots. Next entry, please! Okay, so now that we're finally done with the robots, kinda, let's talk about the first entry from Earthbound on this list, the Star Man Deluxe. So basically you travel through the depths of Stonehenge version 2.0 because 1.0 is preserved in England under the seat of Rabid Luigi. Also, quick fun fact, there really is a city underneath Stonehenge. Just thought I'd say that. Anyways, after battling so many Starman Super to get the Sword of Kings up to the point of being level 84, you pass by citizens of the world encased in stuff, and then approach the Star Man Deluxe. It says that you're stronger than he originally thought, but he's going to stop you anyway. Of course, you could just cop out and use a multi-ball rocket to take the guy out in one hit, but only cheapos and speedrunners do that. But whenever you progress further into the fight, if you haven't won already, he will summon more Starman Supers to help him out. The fight can get more progressively harder as you let more golden-colored Starmen make their way into the Colonel's high-ranking battle and defeat you. But when you finally beat the Starman Deluxe, the entire underground city will shut down and you can get a Saturn ribbon. Totally worth it. And one final thing to add, this is the fight that originates my favorite YouTube user, Nintendo Capri Sun's most famous quote.
Yeah, drain my PP, that's fine. And then I don't have to go to the bathroom. Alright. You know, like, in the bathroom! Like that Weird Al song. In the bathroom!
So, after collecting 6 melodies and leveling up to the appropriate level, you're ready to fight with the one simply known as Dragon. This fight can be quite difficult, and you can die very quickly if you're not careful. But just use PSI block and you can beat him very quickly. Okay, it's kinda hard to stretch out these Mother 1 segments and make them funny. Okay, what can I joke about with this boss fight? Oh, okay, he doesn't have any arms, and I wonder how he manages to eat his victims without cutlery and looking like a slob.
They can't all be good people.
That is our music. Okay, finally, we're out of the entries that I have to struggle to make them funny. So, after traveling through this volcanic area and encountering actual lava made into life forms, and guys in suits made out of the damn thing, we finally arrive to the boss of the 8th Your Sanctuary location, the Carbon Dog. This fight actually has 2 stages. One is a flaming dog of fire, and the other being a diamond dog who's richer than Mr. Krabs on Mr. Krabs Takes Your Money Day. So the first phase is kinda easy, just bash the enemy and avoid dying. After damaging it enough, it'll give off a rainbow of colors and turn into the diamond dog. And this is where things get harder. Whenever you attack the diamond dog, half of the damage you put on it gets reflected back at you. But the shield doesn't last forever, and you can eventually get rid of it. Then you eventually defeat it and go on to faint into an LSD trip. I mean, warp into Magic Hand. Okay, it's finally an entry from Mother 1 that I can talk about without putting a joke at the very beginning of the entry, and it's the final boss for both this list and Mother 1, Gige, or Gygus before he got addicted to evil swirly pills. This fight has atmosphere and everything, which easily makes it the best fight for Mother 1. So, after collecting all 8 melodies and Magic Camp being completely erased from the face of the earth, you come across a cave that contains a lot of people that Giga is keeping hostage. And then you enter another cave, and then Giga's ship rises up. Then Mewtwo in a glass bowl attacks you. It's just you, Anna, and Lloyd versus a future fetus-looking Red Skull. Giga will make various comments about how he's grateful to Nintendo's family, but because George, Nintendo's grandfather, stole PSI information and took the knowledge back to Earth, this caused Giga's people to get angry and cause for the destruction of the Earth. But he offers Nintendo to come along, but he refuses. Well, that's a bit of a shame. I wanted to see Giga's home planet and see the original source of where PSI Rockin' came from. You then have to sing the 8 melodies to Giga, which will gradually weaken him. Not HP-wise, but more mental-wise. Eventually, after singing the melody enough times, Giga will have fully remembered the song and eventually retreat. But he vows to return, and does in Earthbound as a red skull of death and destruction that looks like a fetus. So after the 4th party member of Earthbound finally joins you, Ness and his friends get on a boat and set sail. After sailing for a while, the captain himself gets seasick. Then the sailing continues. You're almost at Scarabo when suddenly, oh my god, it's a giant snake!
Release the Kraken!
This is one of the more awesome fights in the game. I mean, come on, what's not to find awesome? It's a giant snake that breathes fire. How awesome is that? What's more awesome than a giant snake breathing fire? Wait, maybe a giant solid snake breathing fire. Fuck yeah, that would kick ass. But what keeps this fight from being any higher is that you fight 3 other Kraken in Magicant right before you fight Ness's Nightmare. Well, whatever, at least the fight is still awesome. It's the number 7 entry, and we are yet to see a Mother 3 entry on this list. Well, let's break that streak. Bring in the Barrier Trio! Man, these guys are hilarious, probably being up there with the other hilarious bosses such as Mr. Sir Henry Motherfucker and Majora's Incarnation. After going through the biggest drug trip in video game history and then getting whacked on the back of your head to get out of said drug trip, you come up to the 5th needle and you see 3 statues guarding it named Barrier Man, Gal, and Dude. Then they attack you and get into their fabulous positions right off the bat. And these guys mean business. They've got some really powerful moves like fire, freeze, lightning, and the ever so powerful and most likely lead to death for all of your party members unless you have some sort of life up and revival PSI technique and possibly cups of life noodles, PK Starstorm. Yeah, when this move hits you, you're fucked. But if you manage to stay alive, then they'll do it again. Oh, fuck you, purple assholes. But they won't have enough PP to do it. I renounce my previous statement. And eventually you'll defeat it. But the Barrier Trio will give one final barrier pose, and it will be spectacular. After beating the boss, you're ready to pull the needle, but the Pig Mask Army comes in, rolls out the red carpet, the Masked Man comes in, almost kills you, pulls the needle, and you wake up to the bitter taste of defeat. Oh well, you still got the finer spectacular barrier pose. That's a bright side. You've been going through Magicant, every LSD user's dream world, and you encounter the evil part of Ness's mind, Ness's Nightmare. There's no party members to help you, it's just Ness and a statue that claims to be his nightmare. Just kidding, it really is Ness's evil section of his mind. This can be quite a difficult fight if you don't really know what you're doing. Or you actually do know what you're doing and you get PSI Rockin' Omega hit on you too many times that you can't react fast enough to heal yourself, but still. The statue uses PSI Rockin' that can be pretty effective against Ness, and has a shield that reflects damage back to Ness. But after you defeat the statue, all the evil in Ness is cleared out, and Ness gains the super ability of a large amount of HP that he can one-shot enemies if it's a smash hit. So you wake up still in the volcanic spot and not in a hospital. I mean, come on guys, if you saw your friend just collapse right in front of you, wouldn't you at least take him to a medical center or something? Jeez, some friends you are. So, after traveling through the Empire Porky building and Porky's various fake 100th floors, and after playing competitive games with Mini Porky, you finally reach the 100th floor. And who's there to greet you? Well, first of all, who do you think it would be? The top hat guy? Porky himself? Maybe a butler to escort you to Porky? Nope, what you get is a giant fucking pig called the Natural Killer Cyborg. Okay, so why is this boss fight awesome? Well, why not point out the obvious and mention the music? Fuck, Natural Killer Cyborg is awesome. And this fight can pose quite a bit of a challenge because it's a giant fucking robotic pig. Even at one point, it fires its end of century beam. I'm guessing that's a beam that gets fired at the end of every New Year's Eve party that ends in the year 99 in celebration of the new century. And after the fight, you walk down a very long hallway to the title theme of Mother 1, and then you ride a boat to Earthbound music while riding past Earthbound memorabilia like Tessie, the Skyrunner, Dungeon Man, the Yellow Submarine, the Phase Distorter, Porky's machine that he used to fight alongside Gygus with, and various others. You even see a pencil statue and you can pick up an eraser to erase it. All of this signifying that the Mother series is coming to a close. Even though it may be sad to see my favorite video game franchise almost ending, this was just a treat. Thank you, Mr. Shigesato Itoi. Us fans of your series will always remember the wonderful franchise known as Mother. As if this fight wasn't gonna be on here. Yes, for those of you who are fans of the series, you knew this boss fight was going to be on here before the video even started. But really, this is easily one of the most memorable boss fights in not just the Mother series, but in video game history. So, where to start? Well, I guess I could talk about the whole backstory behind Gygus. So, Gygus was once Gyge, but the evil in his mind corrupted him so much that no one knew what to think of him. He became unrecognizable from his original form and just became swallowed by evil. And the lines behind Gygus, such as "it hurts" and "I feel good," and many other disturbing lines of dialogue, comes from an adult film that Shigesato Itoi, the creator of the Mother series, accidentally saw when he walked into the wrong theater as a child. The film was titled Kenpai to Barbara Shibijin, or as it is translated into English, The Military Policeman and the Dismembered Beauty. He confused a lovemaking scene that becomes a murder as rape. And the most notable part of Gygus is easily the outline of him whenever you enter his second wounded phase. It's not that hard to notice the outline looks like a fetus. And to make this even more disturbing, when you enter Gygus' lair, you're walking on what looks like intestines, but when you finally reach Gygus, it can be quickly summed up to be a woman's birth canal. And when looking at the fetus outline, this whole thing can be symbolized as doing an abortion. You have to go back in time to face Gygus when he was weaker, and the outlining of Gygus in his second form, and Gygus' lair supports this. But Itoi himself said that the outlining was just a mere coincidence. So I guess it's just a theory. A game theory! Sorry, Matt. So the disturbing dialogue alone, the abortion theory, and the mere appearance is what makes Gygus so memorable and scary. But to think that I haven't even talked about the actual fight yet. So you first start off by approaching Gygus, and then Porky reveals that he is working with Gygus the whole time. Then the fight begins with one of the best video game songs in history. Pokey Means Business starts off with an 8-bit song and then turns into a kick-ass heavy metal version. Anyways, after attacking Porky long enough, he'll turn off the Devil's Machine and reveal what Gygus really looks like. He'll say that Gygus' own mind was destroyed by his own power and that he isn't even aware of what he's doing. Then you attack Gygus for a little bit, and Porky indirectly tells you how to defeat Gygus, that being by praying. Paula prays for the party, and the others of the world do so afterwards. Then it comes down to the point where the player name you inserted into the game earlier begins to pray for the kids. Then the fight ends. So this is one of the most disturbing bosses in video game history, with the music, image, and theories. But to think that this is only number 4, what could possibly beat it? Well, we got 3 entries to go, so let's find out. This entry is a tie for 2 fights that are of the same character. They aren't different enough to be considered 2 completely separate boss fights, but are still awesome. Entering one of my most hated video game characters of all time, Facade. You fight this guy twice, one is New Facade and the other is Miracle Facade. Like I said, both fights are on this list. Anyways, back to Facade. I hate this fucker so much that I might just hate him more than that bastard Manfred von Karma. He tortured poor little Salsa over the smallest things, even in the case of doing something right. And later on, he was the one that brainwashed everyone into getting happy boxes, and he corrupted Tazmily. Then in Chapter 5, he's revealed to be shooting lightning in places that don't have happy boxes. But on the bright side, after you beat Mr. Janitor, Thunder Tower shuts down. But then he gets chased up to the very top of Thunder Tower, and then Facade falls off. Yeah! Take that, you fat asshole! But when you're about to pull the needle in Fire Mountain, Facade comes down. With his interpreter. Yeah, after Facade fell off Thunder Tower, he had to be rebuilt to the point of needing horns to communicate, and the previously mentioned interpreter to translate it. Facade then says he's going to beat you, so the battle begins and Facade doesn't fuck around here. Well, kinda. Anyways, after the fight ends, Facade retreats for now and doesn't show his face until Chapter 8, where he jumps out of the sewers and attacks you again. Only this time, Facade is hornier than ever. Yeah, it's a bad pun, it's true. But I mean, come on, look at this. Facade has more horns on him. But this time, Facade really doesn't fuck around. I mean, this guy has the ability to use fucking PK Starstorm. PK fucking Starstorm. Are you serious? And when they said Facade's heart filled with hatred, they weren't fucking around. After you finally give that bastard what he deserves, you venture through the Empire Porky building and find out that Facade was the missing 7th Mad Gypsy Locria. Well, it's still a satisfying fight, and Facade finally getting what he deserves was just awesome. And speaking of people getting what they deserve... And here comes another character that I fucking hate. The guy who is your next door neighbor in Earthbound, and the kid who trolled you for the entirety of that game, Porky. Porky is the one who started up the Pigmask army, ended up killing Hanawa, and turned Klaus into the Masked Man. This fucker is the one who is responsible for all the bad events that happened in Mother 3. When you travel through the Empire Porky building, beat the Natural Killer Cyborg, and beat the Mecha Porkies, Porky reveals himself and holy shit, what the fuck happened? Yes, Porky is a decrepit old man who needs to be in a chamber and a spider mech just so he can move around. He also reveals that he's godlike and that you can't hurt him. You then get launched underground with Flint, venture through the undergrounds of New Pork City, and find out that Flint is bald, only to be stopped by Porky and get told that Klaus is on his way to pull the final needle. Porky then attacks you and holy fuck this music! Yeah, this music kicks ass. The reason this fight is high up is because personally, it's really nice to finally have given this fucker a proper beating after 2 whole games and 11 fucking years. As you progress through the fight, Porky will say no matter how much you attack him, he'll never die. He's gone through space and time so many times that he's 1,000 or even 10,000 years old. And if the dragon wakes up, him and it will be the only things left alive. After beating Porky, his machine will run out of energy and he says that you haven't won. He'll then retreat inside the absolutely safe capsule where no matter how much you attack it, nothing will hurt Porky. The fight ends, but Dr. Andernut says that Porky will now be stuck inside the capsule for all eternity, because once you enter it, you can never escape. Even though Porky didn't die, he won't be able to cause harm to another human being and the world ever again. Also, I can't fail to mention that this is the only boss fight in the series to be in a Smash Bros. Game. So, after all this, what could possibly be my favorite Mother boss battle? Let's find out. So if you've been paying attention to this list, my favorite fights from the games are the final bosses, with Mother being Gaige and Earthbound being Gygus. So you can interpret that my favorite boss battle from this series is the second fight with the Masked Man. I really couldn't help myself. This fight is the closest fight I've ever seen to perfection. The music, the atmosphere, the fight itself, it's all perfect. I know I talked about this fight in Master Jake Studios' top 50 favorite bosses list, but I personally thought that entry was crap. So I'm here to do it proper justice. This fight begins by after defeating Porky, you go up a cliff where the Masked Man is kneeling before the final needle. You come up from behind him where he uses his lightning attack to strike you. All of your members except Lucas get hit with it. The fight begins and here comes a wave of emotions all over. Lucas refuses to attack the Masked Man because he's really Klaus, his brother. You wouldn't attack your brother that had been missing for 3 years, would you? Klaus will just keep attacking Lucas because he still doesn't know who Lucas is. He only sees him as a pest getting in the way of his master's victory. All you have to do in this fight is heal yourself and avoid death. Klaus even goes to the point of using PK Love Omega. Shit, man, what the fuck did I do to you? Alright, I kinda kicked your ass at the end of Chapter 7. Yeah. After that move, you'll hear a voice calling out your name. This will happen periodically throughout the fight, later finding out that it's Hanawa's voice. Eventually, into the fight, Klaus will use PK Love Omega again, only for Flint to run out in front of Lucas. Flint hopes for Klaus to remember who he is, but Klaus just hits Flint with it again like he doesn't even care. Once again, the Masked Man will keep attacking you, and then Hanawa will call out to Klaus, this time telling him that he and Lucas are brothers. Then it will happen again after more attacking, but this time Hanawa will say that his name is Klaus and that he's her son. Then Hanawa will beg Klaus to remember who he is. This causes a flashback to occur to when Lucas and Klaus were just born. She then goes on to say how she wants them to be kind just like you, i.e. the player. Then it returns to the fight where the music has changed from the intense battle with the Masked Man to the emotional it is finished. At this point, Klaus begins to remember who he is. His attacks do less damage than they did. Klaus will eventually regain full memory of who he is by Hanawa commenting how tired he is. Klaus will remove his mask entirely and shoot an intense bolt of lightning at Lucas, only to have it get reflected back via the Franklin badge. This causing Klaus to receive mortal damage and almost die. The fight ends with Klaus giving his final words and him apologizing for all the trouble he's caused. Klaus then gives his final breath. Okay, personally, that moment is more effective than any other moment in any video game. More effective than Fi's farewell, more effective than Snake giving the final blow to the boss, and Big Boss smoking his final cigar and finally dying. Lucas then places Klaus down and goes to pull the final needle. He does so and sends the world into destruction. This fight will forever be my favorite final boss out of any video game in existence. The setting, the music, the situation, the battle itself is just perfect. nothing will ever change that, and the Masked Man will be my second favorite video game character, only behind Gato from Trials and Tribulations, and Mother 3 will be my favorite video game of all time.
I'm Randiesel27, and happy 25th anniversary, Mother. You are truly my all-time personal favorite franchise. And I have just one message, Nintendo. Put Ness, Lucas, and the Masked Man in Super Smash Bros. 4!
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!